Good morning.
I'm Jennifer Payne with Avon Health and the Terrie Hess Child Advocacy Center's Board of Directors. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Melanie Martin. Melanie is a survivor of child sexual abuse and sexual assault who uses her lived experience to bring hope, clarity, and compassion to others. Grounded in faith and driven by commitment to truth-telling, she shares her story to illuminate pathways towards healing and prevention. For more than a decade, Melanie has worked professionally with victims of crime, supporting children, families, and adult survivors across multiple systems. Her experience includes roles as domestic violence crisis advocate, court-based victim advocate in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and family advocate and forensic interviewer at a child advocacy center. She's trained by Corner House in forensic interviewing and has supported cases involving child sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, domestic violence exposure, and child sexual exploitation. Melanie is a nationally recognized public speaker and a survivor advocate who has presented at local and national conferences since 2019. She has collaborated with organizations including SHIELD Task Force, National Children's Alliance Shine Campaign, Zero Abuse Project, multiple state children's advocacy center networks, and national organization with international reach called I Have the Right To. She currently serves on SHIELD's board and is a subject matter expert contractor with Zero Abuse Project's Survivor Station Initiative. Creating survivor-led content and educational programming as a facilitator with I Have the Right To, facilitating workshops on topics such as healthy relationships, boundaries, and consent. Melanie holds a bachelor's degree in sociology from Keene State College and completed 2 national service terms with the AmeriCorps Victim Assistance Program. Her work has been recognized with multiple awards for courage, dedication, and service to children and survivors. Please welcome our keynote speaker, Melanie Martin.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. Shining light in the darkness. That's why I'm here today. It's been a long road to get here. But one of my favorite quotes about what I've experienced is, "Forgiving what we cannot forget creates a new way to remember. We change the memory of our past into hope for our future." I would like to thank Sean and the team at Terrie Hess for having me speak today. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share my heart and story here in North Carolina. Okay, thank you. And a special shout out to Coursing Justice and Robert Peters. Some of you may know his name. He's done some work across the country as well. A little plug for our A little plug for our Justice in 30 free trainings that you can access online. Talk to me after and we can get you connected. So difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Although the road was very dark to get here, I'm empowered to say this morning that I've been walking in the light for many years. And I've been living a beautiful life after trauma. The year that it really started to heal and started to define this purpose in this life was when I defined my faith 11 years ago. When God started to turn my pain into deep, deep purpose. One of my favorite quotes is, "Difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations." And I agree so greatly. Every time I get to share my story across the country is a beautiful destination for me. It was surely a treacherous but beautiful road to get here. Both of those things can coexist. One of the most important things I want to embody today is that I'm a survivor more than my story. And so is every survivor out there. God says that we are more than conquerors, and I believe at some point it became more about what God was doing beyond my story itself, as you'll see as I unpack my journey. A little about me professionally, you heard from my intro. I'm trained as a forensic interviewer, very full circle. The moment when I received that certificate was really a milestone for me of all the hard healing work that I had done over the past decade, and being able to work for an agency that supported me in achieving that goal. I've spent over 10 years of my career as a family and child advocate in multiple roles at a domestic violence crisis center, and for 6 years at the Child Advocacy Center. You'll see one of the teams that I worked with here, a SANE nurse, a mental health coordinator, a victim advocate, and myself as a family advocate and forensic interviewer. Since then, I worked as a consultant in many capacities with Zero Abuse Project, as you heard of the Survivor Space Project, advocacy network training, prosecutor trainings, and recorded trainings through presenting survivor circles, which we have a couple more coming up. I have a handful of workshops that I offer at professional conferences, solo and with a co-presenter, a forensic psychologist. As we unpack my case, I requested my court file many years later to do this. And I'm contracted with I Have the Right to, a national organization, delivering workshops in K-12 schools on topics like consent, boundaries, healthy relationships, and hearing and saying no for high school students, and trauma-informed medical care for pre-med students. I'm a board member with SHIELD Task Force out of West Virginia. SHIELD stands for See, Hear, Empower, Learn, Defend, and we held our first conference called ShieldCon this year in West Virginia with Erin Marin, the founder of Erin's Law, as a keynote speaker, where I also presented about survivorship and resiliency and what that means with a friend of mine who's a body safety educator and survivor. I'm also connected with a handful of other organizations, which I'll talk about later, from volunteering to speaking. It's a humbling honor every day to do this work, as many of you probably feel as well. Turning my deepest moments of pain into a cultivated and defined purpose, beyond what I could have fathomed long ago. I'm a mama to a beautiful, almost 3-year-old girl, and a wife to my incredible husband, Jonathan, a cat mom to our kitty boy, Gunner. I agree with the animal thing, I'm just overcome by that today. It's incredible. And living by the ocean on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, living a beautiful life after trauma. I'm an avid softball player, a basketball player, and a dancer just for fun. I'm a Camp Sunshine volunteer, a faithful friend, a member of Harvard Church, a coffee lover, I'd even say enthusiast, as some of you learned about me this morning, and so much more than that. I'm a survivor more than my story, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I went from victim to survivor to thriving and shining and working at a CAC myself. And the true impact that the CAC model had on the tapestry of my life that is now filled with hope and light where there once was darkness. We are here today because of some connection to the Child Advocacy Center, and I want you to hold that close as we watch this video. I want to pause here to show you a powerful video sharing a bit more of my connection and the story that led me here.
I asked him to stop over and over again. He put my hands behind my head, so I just kind of stopped fighting. The flashback started right away. The biggest thing was like remembering what he had said over and over and over. It would play in my head over and over and over. I would go to school, and there I would have to pretend that, I was like all the other kids. She didn't seem distressed at first, and then all of a sudden I heard her asking him to stop. I got a little bit scared, but I didn't know what to do, so I didn't leave, and I didn't want to leave her there alone. So when he was done with her, he came over to me. I just remember looking up, and there was trees, and I just remember staring at the trees, and that image of the tree stuck with me for a really long time. We were brought down to the guidance office, and then they had told us that we had to go get interviewed at this place about what had happened, and again, all I could think of is what he told me, that he would find us, and that, we can't tell anyone about what had happened. Realizing that that is something I might have to do at this place was really scary to me at first.
Children that come into the Child Advocacy Center are oftentimes scared. They often don't understand what is going on. They're not very trusting. And it's amazing, though, that we see the transformation of these children, where they're able to tell their story in a way that is very accepted, and it's so validating to them. They walk out not afraid anymore and not nervous.
she just had this glow about her that I instantly felt safe. And she kind of told me that I was, she was going to be the one interviewing me, and that, this was a safe place that I could kind of talk about what had happened. And it was the first time since the incident that I knew it was wrong and felt safe talking about it. And I was finally able to let go of what was definitely going to destroy me.
When this happens to a child, it feels like they are so alone. It feels like they are the only child that this has ever happened to. And for them to come to a place and talk to somebody who always talks to kids about this is amazing for them. And we can see that in their eyes. Forensic interviewing is very important because we get the facts and we find out what happens, and maybe it will go to court, and that's very important. But in my mind, it's almost more important that we're just sitting there listening to them.
When I walked out of there the first and second time I was interviewed, I felt a sense of freedom. It's pretty indescribable what I felt. It's, something that I still carry with me today. When we came out of the interview, she thanked me for having the courage to talk to her, and that I could pick out any bear that I wanted. And this bear caught my eye, and it had the words hope on the foot of the bear. And I just remember thinking, this is what I feel right now. I feel there's hope for me, that I don't have to live this miserable, locked up life anymore. This bear was kind of a symbol of my strength, but not only that, but the ability that one person could make such a difference in my life. I just had this gut feeling to search for her in April of 2011, so I sent her an email, and not giving too much detail, but just kind of giving her an overview of my case. I just wanted, if this is you, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being that first person and very important person on my journey, and I'd like to tell you where my life has gone from that point, because you wouldn't believe what has happened.
There was this note from this young lady who said, "You may not remember me, but I remember you. And here's where we met. And you interviewed me at the time, it was 7 years ago. And I really want to share with you my journey. And I really want to thank you." And it was a beautiful email, and I must have read it 5 times. And the next morning I got up and I wrote her back, and I said, "You are such a blessing to me."
We were back in contact, and it was a true miracle for me. It meant a lot to me that, she wanted to hear kind of where my life had gone, and it was an honor for me to be able to share that with her.
There we were, having a cup of coffee, and she pulls out this teddy bear that we had given her 7 years earlier, and it was very moving and emotional to me. Mostly because of the true connection she really felt with the Child Advocacy Center and with that bear and with me as that forensic interviewer, and it was very powerful, almost overwhelmingly powerful.
Forensic interviews have hearts of gold, and it takes a special person to do what they do. And I am so blessed to have so many amazing mentors in my life.
Mel absolutely shows us that it's all worthwhile. She is a gift to our whole movement here, and because she is making sure that people realize the important work that's happening, and that honestly, we're changing lives.
Although our story is very unique, where it's come full circle, people make a difference in this field, even if they don't ever know the end result. Because of Christy and her team, I've gone from victim to survivor to thriver. Put your hands on your head.
Hope is a word that we often hear on a daily basis in many different contexts. The word hope also encompasses the synonyms achievement, ambition, anticipation, aspiration, belief, confidence, desire, expectation, goal, faith, optimism, prospect, wish, and the bright side. Essentially, hope is light at the end of the tunnel. Today I am full of hope and on a mission to carry hope to others, but it wasn't always like that. You see, the year sexual abuse became a part of my world in 2002, and again in 2004, and in another form many years later. What I can tell you is that the first 8 to 9 years of my life, I was filled with a childlike, simple hope, and I would be described as a carefree young girl who loved to dance, to be in front of the camera, and full of smiles and fun. I had tons of friends in every social group. I was involved in many activities like Girl Scouts and after-school programs, and sports like dance, basketball, and softball filled my schedule. I loved and still do love going to the beach. Cape Cod is a great place to live if you love the beach. Going camping with my friends and family and just enjoying my life as a kid. After the sexual assault at age 12, I became ashamed, angry, riddled with guilt and anxiety and shame about my body. I lost interest in the things that I loved the most, and I felt a sense of fear all the time. I lost the confidence in myself, and my once bubbly spirit started to fade. I carried shame from the first time hands touched my body without my consent. As you saw, I was sexually assaulted when I was 12 years old. I'm going to zoom in on that experience because that's the experience that I had when I went to the CAC. My trust was broken, I was broken, and I vowed that I was never going to tell. I couldn't imagine how I would. Everything changed in an instant. That social butterfly and ham in front of the camera that you saw in some of those photos, along with that bubbly spirit, started to fade away. Light became darkness, and I wasn't sure I would ever find my way back to that light that I illuminated so powerfully in my very first 9 years of life. I battled self-injury and restricted my eating almost immediately, and never thought I'd see the light again or hope. All the hope I had in the world seemed to crumble that day back in 2004. I was navigating flashbacks and nightmares of what he said and did to me, and I felt a sense of hopelessness that is really difficult to explain unless you've been there. I felt painfully different than my peers, and a powerful deep sea of pain was planted in my heart, mind, and body. I lost myself temporarily that day, and I say temporarily because of the CAC. And when it ended, I instantly felt like I needed a way out of my own skin. I hated myself, I hated him, and I hated the world for letting it happen to me. I felt no control over my situation, my body, my thoughts, or my life. That day was the first time I ever self-injured. For years, I struggled with how and why I got to that point. I was haunted by the abuse for years, through flashbacks, which basically felt like I was reliving it over and over again. And self-injury was the only way I felt a sense of relief. And it brought me back to reality and back to that horrible memory. Feeling and seeing pain on the outside felt much better to me than having to deal with the hurt I was feeling on the inside. Some days I would hide it, and other days the pain was written all over my face. I felt like I had control when I was hurting myself, not like my experiences where another person had complete control. It took years for me to find another way to cope with my struggles. But then entered hope. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Hope goes much deeper and has been more difficult to embody than one would think by having a conversation with me or seeing me standing up here today. Hope is seeing the light despite being surrounded by darkness. My journey from the darkness into the light began 22 years ago this year. Months after my sexual assault at 12, as you saw in the video, I found myself walking into the Child Advocacy Center in my home state of New Hampshire to be interviewed about what happened to me. I felt terrified beyond words, remembering every little thing that he said and did to me that day, and fearing that if I told my secret, something worse would happen. My trust was broken, I was broken, and I could not imagine how I was going to tell. I was so used to keeping it a secret with my best friend at the time, because she was hurt the same day by the same person, hiding my pain on a daily basis, and ultimately, I had settled for this dark, miserable existence as my life forever. I had no hope, and I never thought that I would find light at the end of that tunnel that I was facing. Walking into the CAC, I was greeted with a friendly face, a smile, and for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I could sense that the woman standing in front of me, my forensic interviewer, understood and that she believed me. I disclosed that day, and the trajectory of my journey changed for the better forever. A weight was lifted, my voice was found, my trauma started to become triumph. Going through my court file and reflection for many of the trainings that I do, I found that it was on October 6, 2004, that I found my voice at the Child Advocacy Center I was interviewed at, as you saw in the video. So that means it's 22 years ago this year, two decades plus a few more years. And that feels monumental to me. And as you think about my story and why you're here today and what you're learning, I hope it does for you too. Hope began to take root in my life the day that I found my voice about what happened to me. The day that I found my voice was also the day God started to work in my heart through some of my deepest pain to cultivate a defined purpose in this life, to be a light and to give hope to others. At the end of the interview, as you saw, I was brought to a shelf and baskets filled with teddy bears. I was told I could choose any bear that I wanted to take home with me. As a token of my courage is what I interpreted that as. I was ultimately and literally given the gift of hope when I walked out of the CAC that day, and I chose this bear. I brought this with me to show the true impact of the Child Advocacy Center and the impact it can have on a child and family. This bear has the word hope on its foot, and I saw it on that shelf 22 years ago. I remember the day I walked out of the CAC, and I remember my 12-year-old brain thinking, hope. There is hope for me. I don't have to live with this secret anymore. I'm free. Through my struggles in the aftermath of the abuse, I held on to this hope bear as a reminder that I found my voice and I no longer had to be trapped and silenced by the secret, that with hope comes freedom. Walking out of the CAC, shame was lifted and my voice was found. I saw the light again, and I've carried this hope bear with me ever since. I carry this bear with me as a visual representation across the country to show the true impact of the CAC model. I found my voice that day at the CAC, and my life was forever changed. It's something I will never forget, and for sure had a huge hand in changing the trajectory of my journey and bringing me justice and ultimately back to hope. Because of the CAC, I started my journey to keep holding on to hope in light and darkness, no matter what the journey has entailed. And as I say often, healing is not linear, but it's absolutely worth it. 2 years after I disclosed at the CAC, and after a long 2-year process and 5 postponements by the defense, what happened to me at 12 went to trial. And because of the CAC and because I found my voice there, I was able to give a victim impact statement, and when I walked out of that courtroom that day, I knew that I would give back to CACs one day. I was determined to find purpose for my pain. The forensic interviewer, the detective on my case, and the victim and his advocate at the courthouse became what I call my dream team, along with my mom and my grandfather. They always believed me, believed in me, and encouraged me so much along the way. They brought me back to light and hope. This is the value of the MDT, and one or more supportive people in a child's life who believes them. They were all present at my college graduation party. As you can see in that black and white photo to the left, my mom surprised me in a room very much like this with a table of my dream team. And as you saw in the video, my forensic interviewer and I reconnected 7 years after she interviewed me, and since 2012, we have traveled across the country and New Hampshire to share our story and aim to remind us all of why we do this work. And I can truly say that we're actually really good friends today. She's always a text away, and we have prayer calls often as we share the same faith, which we found out later we got saved the same year, which is interesting, which is such a beautiful full circle thing for me. My family has met hers, and I'll actually be having a girls' weekend with her at the end of the month on Cape Cod with another friend of ours who works in the field. The detective on my case came to my wedding in September 2022 and has been so incredibly supportive all these years. Him and his wife were ripping up the dance floor, which was really cool to see. And he always asked my mom how I was doing when I was much younger. And then when I was in college, I was able to reach out to him myself and tell him myself how I was doing. And he was always checking in and just seeing how college was going. And again, my team cared about me beyond my story. Eric even gave me a scholarship to go to college in his brother's memory, who was also in law enforcement. My team celebrates my wins. You are the teams and the community that can celebrate kids' wins, and as a community, you can support those who support kids and families at the CAC. It's truly a powerful thing when someone lights your flame and keeps it going. I try to carry that feeling and message of hope to others as I advocate and support survivors, and as I educate those I have the opportunity to about what I've learned and how I found hope, healing, and purpose in a decade of walking individuals and families through and beyond the process I walked through long ago. In roles of working in the advocacy field with adult survivors of GV and at the Child Advocacy Center Full Circle as family advocate and forensic interviewer. I've learned so much in 22 years. I use my experiences now to help others down the same road. I've learned that healing is a lifelong journey, pain and progress can coexist, and healing is not linear, but because of the work that CACs do, hope and healing is possible. After years of struggling with self-injury, and as I started to heal, people in my life suggested that I try writing as an outlet when things got hard, or even in good times. I grasped onto this idea because I didn't know what else to do, especially when things got hard. So I started writing, and before I knew it, I wasn't cutting anymore. Turning to writing instead of cutting wasn't easy or quick. From 10th to 11th grade, I struggled back and forth between the two, but with the help of amazing opportunities coming up in my life and the excitement of graduation and college approaching and support from my dream team, I slipped a few times in high school and college, but because it's such a distant memory, I can't tell you the last time that was used as a coping skill, which I'm so very grateful about. Through the support of caring adults, therapists, my middle school guidance counselor, teachers, my dream team, and others around me, I got the help that I needed. Writing became a solace on my journey, and I started to heal. Here's a poem that I wrote long ago and recently adapted to my life now. The Journey. As I look back on my journey of who I have become, the paths that I have crossed, and the days that I came undone. This is a reflection of truth, my life, my strength, my pain, a journey through my eyes, what I lost and what I gained. It started when I was young, a girl at 5 or 6, dealing with unexpected outcomes, a father who was sick. The disease that took him over, but never took him away. A dealing with unexpected outcomes, a young girl begging him to stay. Some days I used to wonder when it was going to end. Lies, fear, manipulation, so young I couldn't comprehend. A few years later, I was never alone. A program full of people, a love that was always shown. Peace, love, and serenity, what I was looking for. A second family forever, a smile and hug for sure. Finally able to share what I never wanted to surrender. Finally felt the relief my heart will always remember. One year when I was 12, I was faced with another fight. Something that I was ashamed of, my heart was filled with fright. A young girl taken advantage of, an acquaintance gone too far, a child held down and violated, the beginning of her scars. Nightmares and flashback haunt her, it's an everyday struggle. Trying to deal with the pain, fighting to pick up the puzzle. Taking it out on herself was the only goal, self-injury and restricting, trying to gain back control. An interview and a trial, she had to make a choice. She wanted her life back. She no longer tolerated a forever silenced voice. There was a small conviction following a long 2 years, an outcome good and bad after days and nights of tears. Another step in her journey, a chapter in her life. That young girl has grown up, and her goal this time is to thrive. A lifetime full of dreams have begun and proven to show through. From high school and 13 years beyond college, she'll say she's gonna show you. A compassion for others who have traveled down the same road, a career to bring justice, a voice that says, you're not alone. A mission to happiness, a beautiful life ahead. I will not back down, I'll show my strength instead. Survivor solidarity was also crucial on my journey. Hearing the words, never alone, truly saved my life long ago. Here are some of the survivors I've had the opportunity to cross paths with. I'll never forget their words of encouragement, support, and inspiration in my darkest hours, and the memories we were able to make in the healing light of our experiences. As years went by, I continued to find my voice, which ignited my passion to be a voice for survivors in all capacities. Because of the CAC, I can carry hope and light through my experiences to others without shame. Finding my voice started my journey all those years ago. Now I can say that continued perseverance and faith finished it. I stand before you today, 34 years old, successful, living my dreams, living on Cape Cod by the ocean, which is healing within itself, truly happy, married, and a mom, something I never thought was possible after years of sexual trauma and the ramifications of my assaults. Many of you have heard the term, the body keeps the score. Healing isn't linear, and neither is trauma. I experienced another traumatic event in 2016, which led me to pursue full healing of my body. I'll drop this lightly, but I don't take it lightly that it might be shocking to hear. I was in a plane crash in 2016, which made me zoom into the fact that I had known something was deeply wrong physically in my body, and I had no choice but to face it head on and heal. Future me then and me now is so very grateful that I did. I was diagnosed in 2019 with a pelvic pain condition as a direct result of my childhood trauma and was resurrected as a result of the plane crash. I had incredible providers by my side, similar to my dream team, and I went through 2 years of intensive treatment and pelvic floor physical therapy for that condition. It's truly a miracle, the healing and connection to my body that came as a result of facing this so many years later head on. It was a vulnerable process, but also worth it, like the non-linear healing journey I'd already been on. I started an Instagram called Victory Over Pelvic Pain so that others could read my experience and even for a moment, not feel alone. This helped me so deeply on my own journey through this part of healing. I've had the humbling honor to work with incredible organizations across the country, shining light on this topic by elevating survivors' voices, and I'm so grateful for each and every opportunity to share my story for the purpose of inspiring and encouraging others. So Terrie Hess will be added to this list, and I'm so very grateful to be here with you all today. So what has been my takeaway from walking this long and winding road through healing? My purpose now is to shine, not only for that young girl in me, but for others beyond my own story. And so is yours. My hope is that hearing me speak today will light a flame within you with whatever you have to give to support the CAC movement, specifically supporting Terrie Hess Children's Advocacy Center. And if you are here today because you're working as a team member or someone that handles these cases in the trenches, to continue to do what you do with all your heart, because it's the reason I'm standing up here today. I see you in the back, that team back there, and some others around the room. You're the reason that I'm standing up here today with hope. My goal is that this encourages you to your core and reminds you of your why. The work is hard but worth it for kids like I was, and to become the woman that I am. And it all started at the CAC. It has been humbling and so amazing to go from where I was to where I am. Without the CAC, I truly believe that that wouldn't have been possible. The definition of shine is to give out a bright light, to direct that light somewhere to see something in the dark, something brighter. Survivors go on to do incredible things if they're given the opportunity to find their voice. To shine is the epitome of being light, not the darkness, for ourselves and for others. Even on the hardest and darkest days of my journey, I've always desired and aspired to be a beacon of hope and light, like a lighthouse on the shore guiding others to it. I try to be bold with my experiences to let others know that they are not alone, and this is exactly what guiding to shine like a lighthouse will allow survivors and those who support them to do. My hope is that other survivors around the world who are trapped in darkness from this will see events like this and things that you're doing in this community and step out into the light for themselves. We can all be a part of the ripple effect of positive, encouraging, and beautiful light shining on and for survivors all around the world. I've always believed in my heart that if you find your voice, it can change your life. The CAC planted that reality into my life 22 years ago, and I'm forever humbled and thankful to shine today because of it. One of my favorite quotes up here is, "The scars that you share become lighthouses so that people who are heading toward the same rocks that you hit." And I just think that's such a powerful image because we all know lighthouses help guide people to shore. The definition of rise, an upward movement, an instance of becoming higher. My definition would say brighter. I love this quote by Maya Angelou to describe the peaks and valleys of this journey. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, Welling and swelling, I bear the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. A childhood restored looks like to me dancing again, literally and figuratively. I quit dance long ago because I couldn't handle being connected with my body. But through the healing from that pelvic condition in 2019, I literally learned to dance again. I started taking dance classes as an adult in 2019. And it's interesting, you were on stage your whole life as a child, and then getting back up on stage in a recital as an adult is a whole different ballgame. But this year I'll be doing that with my now 3-year-old. She's officially old enough to join me on the stage, and so we'll do our first recital this year together. And that feels healing to me. That feels like me reclaiming something that I lost long ago, and also creating new memories with my child, which is something I never thought I would have in the aftermath of my abuse. I found my way back to that bubbly girl I started my life as. Asked my husband. I'm the extroversion to his introversion. The light in my eyes came back, and it all started with this child advocacy center. Think about that. These centers can change the trajectory of kids' lives. The children almost broken by the world will be the adults most likely to change it. And I agree so greatly. And I'm living proof of that because of the CAC. This shows the power that the CACs have to restore childhoods. You have an opportunity to partner with Terrie Hess CAC today, in the midst of, and for days to come, far beyond this brunch, for kids like I was, and for kids and families that walk through their doors each and every day. As a woman with a strong faith, a passionate voice, and a compassionate, open heart, it has been an honor to be here today to share my journey with all of you. Thank you for being here, and enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with some of you at the remainder of this brunch. To close, here's just a little bit of my contact info. You can contact me directly or through Coursing Justice. But I really appreciate each and every one of you for sitting in these seats today. And thank you, Terrie Hess CAC, for having me speak to you today at this brunch.
Today, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsor, Novant Health. Thank you for all the ways you support our mission and the children of Orange County. To our award winners, thank you for the way you show up, for the difference you make, and for reminding us what's possible when people lead with heart. To our speaker, thank you for your courage, your honesty, and for trusting us with your story. To our board of directors and staff, thank you for the passion and dedication you bring to this work every single day. And to all of you, our partners, our supporters, our community, thank you for standing with us. The work we do isn't always easy, but days like today remind me of something I believe deeply, that when a community comes together around children, real change happens. Because of you, children are being heard, they are being protected, and they are being given the chance to heal and to thrive. So as you leave today, I hope you carry that with you, that what you do matters, and that you are part of something truly meaningful. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of this.